Well, hello and welcome to Little State Big Voices. I had a total brain freeze. You know what? It's been a long week. So I'm like, okay, welcome to Little State Big Voices with myself, Shahida, and my lovely co host, Tracy.
Hey y'all,
How's it going?
it's going. We've been busy. We've been booked and busy. So just out in the streets doing all kinds of things and enjoying this heat wave.
Well, it cooled down a little bit, but it was. I mean, it's the humidity. Today has
Um,
just like completely wiped me out.
Pardon me. Okay, at midnight it was 75 degrees this
Last
morning.
night,
Like yeah, so like
this,
Saturday into Sunday, Rel and I had gone into the city. We went to a birthday party. So when we got back, it was like quarter to midnight. So it was like 11:45. The temperature reading that, on the thing in the car was saying it was 75 degrees at mid, like usually
yeah,
by the evening things have
yeah,
cooled down. It was ridiculous. It was super hot
yeah.
and muggy, very
Yeah.
muggy, like you said.
Yeah, I woke up this morning. I was surprised at how muggy it felt. It was, but you know what? I'm not complaining because we are already in July.
Yes,
So that
firmly
means
firmly in
we
July.
have one more month of summer before we start skating into fall.
So, not politically correct, but if you grew up in New England, you know what we call September, right?
Oh,
When it's still
yeah.
warm in September.
Is it September we call that or is it October? Because I thought it was October
Like
was
late September, October. We
uh-huh.
we would
hmm
call it Native American
Native
summer.
American summer. Native
And I
American
love that
summer.
for us. And that was before global warming. So it's okay for it to be warm in the fall.
But the thing is, with it is okay for it to be, and we look forward to those like warm days that like pop up or whatever in that time of the year. But technically, as but your whole mindset changes once September rolls in because the kids are going back to school. Even though you might have been working the whole summer, people are vacationing. It just has such a lighter feel. And then as you go into September, October, it just feels different. And we're already in July. It just seems like
Mhm.
the days are just going. They're just going way too fast. I mean,
I
we
get
just
it.
celebrated the 4th of July, so
So I personally love the fall, so I don't get
I do too.
melancholy. Like when the summer is about to wrap, I get very excited because
Favorite month.
first of all, I love fall fashion. That's number one.
I knew
Number
you were gonna
two,
say that.
I love tights. Okay, you can't wear tights in this kind of weather, but I also enjoy that there's like the foliage is starting to change, apple picking. So not to downplay summer. Summer is amazing. You're a beach person, so summer is your thing. I get that. Like I like the summer, but I prefer the fall.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Because honestly, I like all four seasons. Because by the time summer ends, I'm ready for fall, and then I'm ready for winter, and then I'm ready for spring. So I look forward to each season. I can't imagine living in a place that only has two seasons or three seasons. I love all four. But if I had to pick my absolute favorite, it would be fall.
Definitely got to be the
It
fall. I
would
mean,
it
apple
would be fall. I think
cider.
it would be.
Thanksgiving, Halloween, like all to me, and my birthday is not even in the fall. So you would think I would like the season at my birth. To me, spring in New England is, I don't even know what spring is. It's either winter
It
or it's summertime. We don't really get a proper
But
spring,
when we
in
do
my
get a
opinion.
proper spring, it's beautiful. Because when you go from that really cold to those like slightly warm days and then you start seeing the greenery, that it's refreshing. So
Definitely, definitely.
I do. I love all of them. But anyway, we digress into the
Yes, that's
season.
not what we came here to talk about today.
We
We
have
were,
a lot of things on our plate today. So let's
yes,
start with earlier today. I was actually, I mean, today is Sunday, and so this will be aired tomorrow on Monday, per usual. But I did a live today with Amaziah the Great, and we had him on our podcast. Oh gosh, how many episodes ago? Because we racking them up. We racking up these Monday
yeah.
episodes.
We bring you
But
good, new, fresh items every week. So Craig was on a while
mhm,
ago. You probably remember him from his exquisite poetry and his book,
mhm,
Don't Cry, which is on my bookshelf and signed copy, but you could get yours on Amazon if you like. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. So again, you were on Craig's live today. What were you doing on the live? What were you doing today with Amaziah the Great?
So he is promoting his 48-hour movie
Yes,
that he did, and you were in his
I
48-hour movie. And so we were talking about that, and then he introduced me to a very lovely woman out of Boston who's doing the Jerk Fest, which she says she's been doing it for 11 years now. Had not heard of it before.
yes,
I'm
Nicole
not in
Williams.
Boston, but I was, yeah,
I've heard of it.
so
It's a big thing. Like it's a really big thing, and
it
it's
is a
been
huge
growing.
thing. And she's doing a fabulous job with it. But he talked about his 48-hour movie project, which I'm so this man is constantly on the move. Him and Lisa Costa, they everywhere.
I'm surprised they're not
They
in a
have more
project
than nine
together.
lives.
Like, how have those two not done a project together? Is what I'm trying to figure out. I feel like it's gonna happen. It's coming down the pike. But the 48-hour film project, just so people can understand, you can actually find out more on 48hourfilm.com. So the number 48hour film, like HOURFILM.com. If you go on there, you'll see that this is a nationwide project. It may be international as well. And the task is basically
Mhm.
that you have 48 hours to create a film based on some triggers that they give you, or some prompts rather. So it could be, they could give you names of certain characters you have to build into the script, or a theme, or a location around town. And so you have to really get your creative juices flowing. So Craig put together a team. So the team included myself. It included Jennifer and his friend Peter, as well as my son Noah, who made his film debut. It was really a fun thing to do, and I'm excited for it. So there's actually going to be a premiere for all of the movies. So not just ours, but all of the people who have participated in the 48-hour film fest, and that's going to be at Avon Cinemas here in Providence on Thayer Street. So it'll be at 260 Thayer Street, and that's going to be Tuesday, July 9th. No, that's not right.
And his is
It's going to be
actually showing
Wednesday,
on Wednesday. His is
Wednesday the
well, it
10th.
starts on Tuesday.
Right.
So
So
they
it's the
have
10th.
different
Right.
categories, category A, B, C, and he's category C. So he's gonna be Wednesday night at 6:30.
You got it.
And I will be attending, and I'm so excited because I can't wait to see you and
Yes.
Noah.
I won't be here, however, but you will see us
Mhm.
on film. I won't be present in person, but Shahida will be holding it down. Craig will be holding it down for sure. So yes, that's what it is. It's a two day affair, and our film in particular is going to be on Wednesday. So very exciting, and it's a seven. These films are 7 minutes, so that's
Yeah.
I think the exciting part of it, especially if you're someone who likes film or likes creativity, but you don't have the attention span to sit through like a 2 hour film for each individual submission. These are 7 minutes. They are short films, and I can't wait to see what the other people do. And if you can't make it in person, you can actually stream it. So I will be streaming, and you would stream it
Okay.
basically on events.com human ticks. So we'll post all of this information where you can stream, and it should be very exciting. So yes, Tuesday, July 9th through Wednesday, July 10th, 6:30 p.m. and ends at 10:30 on the 10th. So, please
Yes.
support. My character is Dr. Lisa Panda.
I was just about to ask who you playing. How was that? First of all, he wrote this based off of like a certain amount of prompts, right? That
Yes.
they gave him. So he
Mm-hmm.
had 48 hours to finish it. So that creative process must be moving fast. And he just called you on a whim or emailed you on a whim, and you were just like, I'm there.
Yeah,
You
I was
showed
like,
up.
why not? I'm a spontaneous person. I'm like, why not? What else am I doing? And I was doing some other stuff, but I had time. I was like, let me hold my brother Craig down
Mm-hmm.
because honestly, Craig is out here doing a damn thing. Like he promotes himself, he promotes others. He's been so supportive of the podcast that there was no way that I couldn't provide this little bit of help to him in his moment of request, or I don't even want to say moment of need, because he put this team together very specific. I can't talk today. Specifically and deliberately. So Suleiman is in there, and Bliss. They're
Mm-hmm.
amazing poets. And then Peter, he does a music piece within it. My son Noah plays a ruffian, which was really, it was just so cool. And yes,
Oh, I
so
gotta see this.
yeah, you have to see. I don't want to
Because Noah's
spoil
too
any of it.
sweet to be playing a ruffian.
Yeah, he plays a bad guy in this, and he leaned into the
Mm-hmm.
role, and he actually did a really great job. So
Oh, I cannot wait.
yeah,
That's
so
funny.
y'all gonna
He
go out
is,
and
yeah. That
support.
so yep. So that's coming up this week. So that's Wednesday. That's where I will be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else? We talked about our trip to Newport.
Yes, but well, do you want to talk about Restaurant Week first? You gotta lead with food and
Definitely
fashion.
hit restaurant week because you have been talking about this for like a month now.
I have. So I get really excited about Restaurant Week. So I remember like back in the day, there wasn't even a Restaurant Week. So when I was living in Boston, it would be Restaurant Day. It was a day. Then people were like,
We had
that's
a
not
week
enough.
though, didn't we?
What's up?
Didn't we have a week? We had restaurant week in
I
Boston.
don't
No.
think it started as a week. I think either it started as a day and it became a week, or it started as a week and now it's 2 weeks. Whatever it was, it got
Okay,
expanded.
I think it probably
So
maybe it started as a day, but
it
I
might have
only
been.
remember restaurant week
Well, now it's 2 weeks,
because I used to
honey.
go all the time. It's two
So
weeks, yeah.
in Providence, it started today and it goes through July 20th. So we definitely got to pull up on at least two restaurants, Shahida. Like we have to bring this to our
Mm-hmm.
fans. We have to pull up and get some of these prefix menus. Anyone who hasn't done Restaurant Week before, basically, a number of restaurants will participate and they will give you a prefix menu. So if you don't know what that is, that's basically your appetizer, your meal, and your dessert for one set price, and you have options that you can usually choose from. And it's just a way for restaurants to get and engage new patrons, or, just get their names known. So that's really what it started as. And if you want a full list, you can go to goprovidence.com. They'll be able to give you a full list of the
Oh
participating
yeah.
restaurants, and you'll be able to find out what the deals and the specials are for each restaurant. But it's exciting and it's good because a lot of them are mom and pop restaurants. They're not big chains. They don't have corporate backing and unlimited funding and write-offs and things like that. These are individual store owners or restaurant owners who are basically living their dream and trying to make sure that people are enjoying their food. And Providence just has so much to offer restaurant wise. Like this is going to be litty. I know it is.
Are there any restaurants you are interested in?
Oh my gosh. I don't have any favorites. I think what
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather do is you and I go through the list, and then when we pick out the places we're going to go to, come back and report back on the places we went.
Because let me tell you guys, she has an international palate. My children have an
I
international.
had Indian food on Friday. It was so
Yeah.
good.
My children, they have an international palate. My parents have an international palate. I
What kind
don't
of
know where
palate
I
do you
came from.
have? You have an
My
American.
daughter calls it, she calls it the chicken nugget palate. I
That's
do
so
not like
messed up.
chicken nuggets, but she said that's how basic my palate is. I
I've
am
seen you
not a
eat.
foodie.
I've seen you explore a little bit with food.
I have been trying to explore a little bit more with food, not just with food, but with everything, because I am an introverted extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I like a lot of me time, quiet time. I don't try a lot of new things. So, over the last few years, I actually push myself a little bit more to try, different things and different foods. And I try. I try. I
So,
eat it.
so
What?
that just got me thinking about something we talked about just last week because we were at Kin on when were we at Kin? Wednesday night?
Thursday night? No, Wednesday night. Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, and we were there doing their like Fourth of July kickoff DJ celebration, blah blah blah. But then we hopped over to the other spot, the other bar that we went to, and they kind of had an interesting menu. But one thing you mentioned to me is that you've never dined alone.
No, no, I have not. No, I have not.
You got,
Not,
I'm telling you,
I don't even think lunch. I don't even think lunch. Like if I go someplace and it's to get lunch, I will bring it back to wherever if I'm working or if I'm home or even in the car. I just never have sat at a restaurant by myself and ate a
so
meal.
is that a conscious decision? Is there like some inhibition that you have about eating alone?
I don't know why I would, considering, I was the only child for 20 years. I am okay with doing things by myself. No, you know what? Let me stop lying. No, I'm not that okay. Certain things I feel uncomfortable doing by myself, to be
I
honest.
I on the
I was
other
gonna lie. I thought I truly was okay with certain things, but no,
And I'm
honestly,
not
no.
saying that you should, I'm like not doing like, oh, I challenge you or anything like that. But I'm always curious as to why some people feel that way. Because I personally, as long as food is there, I don't care who else is there. It's me and my meal. And then if you want to join us, that's perfectly fine. Honestly, I think too, what's cool about eating alone is you ain't got to worry about, am I chewing too loud? Do I look greedy to somebody else? Somebody, talking while I'm enjoying my you actually can enjoy your experience dining solo. And
Hmm.
I'll pull up, I will even make reservations for one. Like I have no qualms about it. And I guess that for some people that's just like, no, I can't do that. And I don't know if it's a fear of people thinking that you're lonely. Like I don't know. I'm just trying to get to like the psychology of why people don't like to dine alone.
But the crazy thing is, like, I'll go to the movies alone. I've been to the movies alone,
Mm-hmm.
and no problem with that. And then when we went to Ken's, I ran into someone I knew that worked on the coalition, and we're on the political action committee together. And I'm talking to her. I'm thinking she's there to meet somebody while I'm waiting on you. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, all right. So then the next thing I know, she goes, oh no, I'm just here. I just came after work. She works remote, and she was sitting there at the bar having her drink, chilling by herself. And I was just like, good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. I would never do that.
I would love to hear from our listeners, like if they enjoy dining alone or not. I really want to learn more about it because then I think what they should also do is maybe have restaurants where there's just one chair at the table.
I mean, even if there's a two, when I see people dining alone, it never crosses my mind that, oh, that person's lonely. I I don't even think of it like one way or the other. That person's just eating their meal with somebody. I never think of it. So I don't know why I haven't done it, but I am going to. Like I said, I've been pushing myself a little bit more. You inspire me because you're very extroverted. Let me tell you something about Tracy, guys. Right?
Oh, I want to hear
So
this too. Go ahead.
get ready. People automatically assume that I talk a lot or that I'm extroverted, and I am to an extent. But when I walk into a room, I zone in on maybe one person to kind of make a connection with so that I won't feel like, I'm out there by myself. Tracy zones in on a few, talks to everybody. She reminds me of my mom. Like, just walks into a room and just starts speaking to everyone. And had she not been that type of person, she wouldn't have made this fabulous connection for hosts that were hoping to get on the podcast very soon, and she don't know how grateful I am for that. But she's very extroverted. She's very friendly, approachable. I don't know how approachable I am outside in
Mhm.
public.
I feel like you would be approachable, but some people. So I struggle sometimes with like going from 0 to 100 with it, because either I want to talk to someone or I don't want to talk to them at all, and I'm ignoring you. Like, which is really not a good thing. I'm trying to work on finding
I
my
never see you like that. I never see that energy.
Well, so
Well,
I was out last night and there were people that I was just
mm-hmm,
like, yeah, I have no interest in engaging with any of these people. Won't be talking to them unless they talk to me. And then there were other people that I was like on a hunch
uh-huh,
with. And it's something I really need to work on, because what I found is that sometimes I may be blocking my own blessings, because then maybe someone else in the room will say,
mm-hmm,
"Oh, have you met blah blah blah?" And I'm like, I don't know that
mm-hmm,
person, or what can they offer to me in this conversation? And then I'll talk to them and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this person is actually kind of dope. So I need to
mm-hmm,
also figure out how to not kind of pigeonhole the people that I want to engage with and the people I don't want to.
mm-hmm.
I want to be open to, many possibilities now. I'm glad that it's not
And I think
noticeable,
that
but
for me,
I be doing long division in my head, like, yeah, I'm not talking to this person, but I'm definitely running over here to talk to this person.
I think the Capricorn in me, and I think I'm like a true Capricorn too. It's personality trait. I know people like, oh, I don't believe in astrology, but there are some things. And I think what my Capricorn trait is I can be very reserved. And 9 times out of 10, I'm reserved, but I am friendly. So, like, when people do come up to me, I am going to engage with you, but it's very rare that I go up to speak to someone else. So I remember, let me tell this quick story before we move on, because I'm always
This is
hijacking the
our podcast.
conversation.
Take as much time as you like. This is our
But let me
shit.
tell you this story. Like, my mother, and I try and be more like my mother, because my mother she'll engage right away, and one thing that I'm most impressed about her is my mother's always in full hijab, right? And there was a time, especially after 9/11, I was ready to pop off on anybody that looked at her funny. Like, who am I
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to who am I gonna have to fight? But anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
we went to New York one weekend to see a play or whatever, and so we're leaving the hotel and we're on the shuttle going to the airport. And so we're sitting there and we're talking together, but then she wants to engage the van because we're on the shuttle van. And I'm like, this lady. So she starts talking to the woman, like, kind of like sitting in front of us. The woman turns around and starts talking, and she's from Massachusetts as well. They start talking or whatever. Next thing she goes, where do you live? My mother's like, I live in Middleborough. And the lady goes, oh my God, we live in Middleborough as well. We just sold our house. Who bought their house? My mother had bought their house.
That's
So we
no.
literally, I swear to God,
That's
we
wild.
literally were in the same hotel, same weekend. We actually saw two different plays though. They were there for a play as well, her and her husband, and I think like her sister or something, whatever. Older white family. And we just started talking, and then the next thing you know, same house. She said, we just put that island in as we were.
That's
So, and I'm
so
like,
wild.
that it is. And that taught me, and this was a while ago. I always say it a good 10, 15 years ago. I said, it taught me to that kind of openness. You just never know who you're going to meet, and then not all people are kind of standoffish. I'm
Mm-hmm.
more standoffish. And so I expect other people to be that way too. My mother is very open to speak, finding a common connection. And maybe that's the education in her. She was a principal for many, many years or whatever. But yeah, and I aspire to be like that. And I said, I see those traits in you as well. I aspire to be like that. And I try very hard. And I don't think anybody will say that I'm unfriendly. I'm just not immediately approachable.
That might be a good thing though, too, because maybe too sometimes people come up to me and I'd be like, "Why are you talking to me?" But people will just come up to me
Sis,
because I think I
I'm
just
giving you
have
all the
that.
compliments.
I have that face, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask this lady a question." I'm like, sometimes I don't I'm like, but no, I think there are pros and cons to it. Everybody can't have the
Yeah.
same personality type and style, but definitely if especially if I have something in mind, like that particular guest that we are looking at having. I was on a mission. You were on a mission. We have this mission that we've been talking about together, and I was like, no, I'm making a beeline for this. And I
Hmm.
actually kind of jumped in front of somebody who might have been waiting to talk to that person too, but I'm sorry because I mean, it is what it is.
Do
That
your thing,
happened.
girl.
So
Do your
that
thing.
happened. We working on some good guests for you all, some great interviews. But yeah, so I mean, how did we get here?
We were talking
Oh, we
about
were talking
restaurant
about
week.
dining alone. We were talking about dining alone.
Dining
So
alone, restaurant week.
Restaurant Week. So whether you go by yourself or with someone else, check out Providence Restaurant Week, July 7th through the 20th. And Jerk Fest is going to be held at the Harvard Athletic Complex in Boston, Massachusetts. That's going to be at 145 North Harvard Street. So yeah, take those activities in and absolutely check out the 48-hour film fest online or in person if you can make it. And we took a field trip.
Oh, a beautiful field trip.
Yes.
Beautiful. Go ahead. Tell it, sis.
Oh,
You started.
I did start. So I was I was like that segue was so raggedy. It was just like boom, we took a field trip. So we've been talking about this on our podcast for a few weeks. This Gilded Age. I'm not a fan of the Gilded Age show. Not that I haven't watched it, so I have no opinion of it one way or the other. But the Gilded Age show is like really big with people, and they've been watching it. And so Shahida and I have been talking about and sharing with you all about the Gilded Age in Color, which is the specific exhibit that was held at the Rosecliff Mansions in Newport, Rhode Island. And so the part that I was really interested in, and Sheeta was really interested in seeing, was how Black families lived during this time. And so the Gilded Age is considered to be between 1865 and 1902. So it's all about, it's like a snapshot of the African American affluent community within Newport, Rhode Island during that time. And there were many families. That one of the families was the Barclays. Do you remember the other names of the families? This is all documented and information that people can
I
research.
know
And
I
there's a
have
whole
so
historical
many
society.
pictures. Yeah, I have so many pictures, but I don't recall like any of the names off the top of my
But
head
just
now.
the accomplishments. There was one doctor, and I wish I had her name on
There's
the
a
tip of
couple
my
of
tongue.
doctors in there.
But the female doctor who earned her
Hmm.
medical degree at Boston Children's Hospital, like that was mind blowing to me that she was able to do that under those conditions in that time. But, the exhibit had artifacts from, antique artifacts from the homes of these wealthy Black families. There was a family portrait of these little kids that was so adorable. And then a modern artist did an updated rendition of the photograph into a painting. It was an
Beautiful.
exquisite
Hmm.
experience. Like it just let you know that as much as the media would try to portray that African Americans don't have history other than slavery and the civil rights movement, there's so much that happened before that and leading up to now. And part of it is the Gilded Age. Not everybody was wealthy in Rhode Island, but this is an exhibit about the wealthy Black population at that time in Newport.
And
And it's
speaking,
gone.
and I'm glad you brought that up about it, and it's not the media, it's actually our educational system is set up that way. And there's 2 points I wanted to make, since we're talking about that. And one is on the 4th of July, but the other one also is the education.
Mm-hmm.
Where when African Americans taught themselves because they weren't afforded the luxury to go to the schools, and they taught themselves to read, they taught themselves to write, and the accomplishments that they made under those kind of conditions that were just I mean, worse than poverty because they didn't have the same tools. But one of the things, because we did celebrate the 4th of July this week, at my job, we're very big on DEI. And, of course, they're going to send out a, 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 a newsletter. I'm sorry, a newsletter to the whole company about, enjoy your 4th of July. So I said, before you send that out, could you add in the fact that African American men fought in the American Revolutionary War? And people came up to me and said they had no idea that, African American men, I mean, we grew up in Boston, so Crispus Attucks, that's like, I mean, that's a common name. And he was like the first person to die, in the Revolutionary War in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I found out is like, what I have it here in 1778, the Rhode Island Assembly voted to allow every able bodied Negro, mulatto, or Indian man slave in the States to enlist into either the continental battalions being raised, and the assembly further stipulated that every slave so enlisting shall, upon his passing, muster before Colonel Christopher Green, be immediately discharged from the service of his master or mistress and be absolutely free. Now they reneged on that.
Mm.
So they fought in this war thinking that they were fighting for, their freedom. And then a lot of them fought on the Britain side as well, Great Britain side as well, because the Britons said that, what, if you fight with us, we're going to set you free as well. But then when the war was lost, they actually sold them back to their masters. So sold them back, not even just
That
gave
is
them back, but made
trash.
a penny off of people who served in this war. So one of the things that a coworker of mine said was that they were astonished and they had no idea. And I find it very peculiar, or that a lot of times people from other countries will come here and there'll be one generation in this country, and feel that they are more American than Black Americans. And we have fought in every single war. So he was like, oh, and I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about like this immigration and how all these immigrants are coming and taking jobs away from Black people.
Mm.
What jobs? What jobs are they taking? I said, that is an absolute untruth. I said, that is, not the case. Most of the people that come into this country, whether they are illegal or legal, when they come into this country, they're doing jobs that no American wants to do.
That
That
part.
is what shut down Florida, and it shut down Texas when both of those governors tried to crack down on illegal immigration. And the business owners was like, look, we don't have anybody to install these roofs. We don't have anybody to do, these are the jobs that other people don't want to do, and that they're being paid under the table. So they're not taking anything away from us, but you are just here, what? Your parents were born in Italy. Like I said, one generation in. So you were considered, an immigrant at one point. So when does that line stop? Like, as far as like people come into the country, when your family all got in, it was okay. But now other people are seeking asylum, or they're seeking a better life, and they come over here. Granted, we have a insane influx, and I don't of immigrants coming into this country, and I don't understand why, but a huge influx of people coming into this country. But don't come to me and say that they are stealing my job, because I don't see any of them able to walk into where I work and sit at
Mm-hmm.
my desk. So they're not
Right.
stealing my job. There are a whole lot of African Americans that have great jobs, and no illegal immigrant can come over and just take their jobs.
And
So
that
please
was, you know,
miss me. It's
that
racist. It's
that comes
racist
from
bullshit.
the debate. You know, they that came from
It
the
was
debate. Direct
exactly.
quote from the
And stop
debate.
acting like you were concerned.
It's the way, it's that undertone of, first of all, it's the false gaslighting, because you're using false information to gaslight, which is his MO
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I'm not even gonna say this Trump's name. I'm gonna just call him Chump. But so saying that immigrants are taking black jobs. First of all, a lot of those immigrants are black people. Let's start with that. So now you're trying to drive a wedge between immigrant immigrants and African Americans, which there's definitely a Venn diagram of overlap there, because some people are coming from Haiti, some people are coming from Jamaica. They're coming from all over, not just, you know, Latin countries. Because the implication, what he was implying was that it's Mexicans, it's Latinos. They're coming. So now you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to pit us against each other. The other piece of that is now you're trying to say that black jobs are jobs that do not require any many qualifications, is what you're implying. Not that immigrants don't have qualifications, but usually when they come to this country, their credentials are not valid because of racism. You could be a
Exactly. They could be
doctor in your
doctors and
country,
lawyers too.
and you come over here, you got to go back to American medical school to practice, or
Mm-hmm.
dental school, or law school, or whatever. You have to start all over again. So you're implying that it's like black people work at McDonald's, and here come these people from Argentina, not even Argentina, because that's a more white Latino.
Mm-hmm.
What's a dark Latino country? Honduras. I use my country. The
Mm-hmm.
Hondurans are coming over, and they're going to be mopping up behind the greaser, the fryer over there at McDonald's, and they're taking your black job. Like, no, sir. First of all, that whole the whole context of that was trash, and anyone who's even
It
listening
was
to that and
racist.
buying into it is simple-minded and uneducated. And I feel comfortable saying, if you believe that, you're un or undereducated.
And try to guise it like, I'm so concerned for your people. No, you're not. No,
Sir,
you're not.
my
Because
black
if
job
you
is black
knew,
woman in tech. Like, who's coming and taking my job that just came over here illegally with no documentation? You couldn't even pass the HR screening to be able to get my black in tech job. So
mm-hmm,
don't do that.
mm-hmm,
Come
don't
on
do
now.
that. Don't do that. But it's an amazing, again, how they're so indoctrinated to come from another country, a European country or whatever, and to come over here and feel like they are more American than anybody of dark skin, even though we have been here for centuries. We have been here. We were,
Before we were
even though we
here
were brought here
before
illegal, we
slavery.
still have been here.
We were here before
Exactly. We
slavery.
were here before slavery.
So a lot of
So,
people
but
don't know that Columbus's one of his map makers and one of his navigators was an African that was helping
mm-hmm,
him map out, since this fool thought he was going to India and ended up not in India, but in the West Indies, which is why it's called the West Indies. He didn't know where the heck he was going. He ended up going back to Africa and getting help from Africans way before, because what was that, 1492? We're talking about way
14,
before,
yep. Mm-hmm.
hundreds, centuries before slavery. And kind of to circle back on the slavery piece of it and how long we've been in this country. So, with the whole 4th of July thing, you said like this memo went out. A lot of black people, not just myself, are feeling a type of way about wishing other people a happy 4th of July. And I know that's going
Mhm.
to be controversial for a lot of people who are like, well, that's
Mhm.
it's America and you should stand for America and it's un-American not to support Independence Day. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. So Frederick Douglass, we
You
all
said,
know who
here's
that
the
is.
thing.
Frederick Douglass, we all know that brother, the most photographed black man of his life, of his contemporaries during that time period, the most photographed man of any race, was on a circuit touring, giving speeches, et cetera, et cetera. He gave a speech in 1852, and it was called "What to the American Slave Is Your Fourth of July." This is in 1852. So this is not me saying something right here. This is Fred, our man Fred, okay? 1852, we want to do the math and crunch the numbers. That was 76 years after the Declaration of Independence, and we are still actively in slavery at that time. So put that into perspective. Your founding fathers signed this paper about freedom and liberty and justice for all men, because it wasn't even about the women, and black
Mhm.
men were not included in that for 76
Mhm.
more years before this speech, and then another 13 years passed before slavery was abolished. So we're talking about 89 years, but from the time the declaration was signed to when they actually declared slaves free. And then why do we have Juneteenth? Because the memo didn't even get out to everybody who needed to be free. So more time, probably 90 years is
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
effective math calculation. And on top of that, there was a black market slavery still continuing to happen after slavery was technically, quote unquote, legally abolished. And there were ships that were still coming over, and the contraband was slaves because they were still
Yeah.
importing slaves. You think they were going to stop their lucrative production of transporting human cargo over here to build this country up? Absolutely not. That continued. So that's why it kind of stings to talk about American Independence Day when we didn't get that. We didn't get that. Our forefathers and our ancestors did not get that freedom when
And
the
you
freedom
used
was
us
being
to
given out.
fight your war.
Used
And
us
you
and
used
then
us to
and
fight
then
your war.
lied. Lied. We never got our 40 acres and a mule. We still trying to
Mm-mm.
get that. Never got reparations. And if you're saying we don't deserve it, then how come others are getting reparations, but we're not getting reparations, and everything is documented? Like the paper
Mhm.
trail is insane for American slavery. Everybody knows about it. And you can stop teaching it in schools if you want to. You can do Project 2025 if you want to. But what's going to happen is we're going to just start teaching it in the home space, which we should be doing anyway. And that's
You should
everybody.
be doing
Anyone
it
who,
anyway.
if you're an ally, if you're a person of color, you should be teaching your children as soon as they can open a book or listen to a book being read to them or read a book about the history and how we've gotten to the point where we are right now. That's
And I'm
just
glad you brought that up, because one of the things, my mom, just fabulous all the way around. But one of the things that she in the 70s was no joke. The 70s, black women were no joke. They really
it.
were not.
It was
But
that
one of
Black
the
Panther
things that
energy.
it really was. And one of the things my mother and a friend of hers did, we would have weekend school. Now, this is just at my mom's house or my mother's friend's house or whatever, when her children and me would get together and they would teach us Black history. And at that time, Nubian Ocean down at Dudley, they used to sell these like Black comic books. And I forget the name of the publisher or whatever, but they would be like Crispus Attucks, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass,
Hmm.
was the guys, just oh, his last name is Henson, and he
Oh,
put the
Matthew
first flag
Henson.
on. Matthew Henson, yeah, so we learned all those things, but we didn't learn that in school. We learned that at home on Saturday weekend school. Hated it, but it was like literally the morning to like the early afternoon. So it wasn't even the whole day. But they took it upon themselves, and they weren't the only parents doing that. A lot of different parents, because those 70s mothers were on something totally different, and they did a lot of awesome things. So one of the things I like you brought up is education, and we need to be teaching this to our children. How do you think that you make a child feel like they're important and they have a place in the world if you don't teach them their history?
Mhm.
And not just you was a slave, you got free, and then here you are now, you have a black president. No, there was so much in between. And we saw that in the Newport, the Newport exhibition that we saw, just how not having nothing was still not an excuse not to be something or want something,
Mhm.
because they still never reached the level of their white counterparts, but that didn't mean that they stopped, and they formed their own black women's associations, their black male associations, and they helped one another. And I really, I'm glad that we're integrated. I'm glad that integration is, a part. But honestly, did it help us a whole lot? It helped to an extent. But that level of us being able to depend on one another, we or to really fight for one another in our own spaces and build up our own spaces, we kind of like let that go, because we thought, the way to show that I've made it is to be able to move into this white
To
neighborhood. The way
assimilate.
to show that I've made it is to go to a white school.
So,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
have you ever been to Atlanta, to Martin Luther King's house in Atlanta?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things they talk about on that tour is that because of segregation, so when you think about how did we get a Martin Luther King in the first place, it's because they were upper middle class in a black
Mm-hmm.
community, and they all had their own black dentists, black doctors, black
Mm-hmm.
educators. Maybe the books weren't as good, or maybe they didn't have enough books to go around for all the kids, but they had a core and a foundation, and they were actually thriving. They had their own black supermarkets and things like that.
Exactly.
Racism was still very rampant, and rights were not, there, but they made the most of it and they bonded together. And so what they were saying is that because of the way he grew up in that community, with them fostering that village mentality, when we actually did get to the civil rights movement and all of these laws, because these are just laws, these are just people
Mm-hmm.
telling other people what to do. There's a whole mindset that has to be changed. But honestly, like,
Mm-hmm.
I got most of my foundation for my knowledge of Black history when I was in kindergarten, because I went to a predominantly Black kindergarten. And then I went to Medco. So I was bused from grades
Mm-hmm.
1 to 12. But that foundation I got from the ages of, I would say, 3 to 5 was so critical for me, because I learned so much
Mm-hmm.
about Black history and I was surrounded by nothing but other Black kids. I don't know if we had any white children in our school. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember any. And we only had one white teacher. The entire
Mm-hmm.
staff, including the woman who made our meals, the owner, the bus driver, everyone was African American.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a
It
great
makes it
foundation.
makes a huge difference. It does. I mean, like I said, I've always talked about my experience growing up. I know I've talked to other people who said they have never had a black teacher, which I find, until they got to college or something, which I find incredible,
Mhm.
because from the first and second grade, I actually did do MECO as well. And I went to school in Braintree, and they were horrific to me. And I don't know
Mhm.
how any woman, because the teachers were women, how any woman could mistreat 6 and 7-year-old kids to their it's unfathomable to me. And in the third grade, my mother's like, you know what, that's it for her. She's going. And I went to a predominantly black school that was run by the archdiocese, but it was very afrocentric, and I had black teachers from the time I was in the third grade until I graduated high school, and
It
black
makes
male
a
teachers too,
difference.
some of my best ones. It does make a difference. And one of the things I always felt is that, you can't shame me for my color or my culture. Um, and I think that was because I knew from very early on that I wasn't just a slave. Then a white man set me free, and then my family was able to have stuff. No, I know all the stuff, not all the stuff. I only know some of the stuff that happened in between. But the way that people really, really fought, and I feel like we do a great disservice to our ancestors, especially when we say stuff like, if that was me, I would have did X, Y, and Z. I couldn't have been no slave. No, no. And you would have been a slave, and you would have went through exactly what they went through. And you might have been one of the more fiery ones that said no and did die. But don't disrespect the ones who
Mm-hmm.
actually went through that, because that was a level of hell that you shouldn't wish on anybody, and you don't know what you would do or how you would react in those situations. When you think about the atrocities of slavery, remember when that book Beloved came out, and then that was when I
Mm-hmm.
first learned that there was Africans who actually killed their babies because they didn't want
Yeah.
them to be slaves. Oh, that was hard. I
Horrible.
mean, no judgment. I can't play what that baby would have to grow up and be and do and feel. I can't say that they were wrong in that decision to smother them or whatever way they decide to. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
We owe our ancestors so much, and I don't think we have begun to repay them for what they have done for us.
No, absolutely, 100%. So it's like the 4th of July, and I used to, believe me, I used to be, like I said, I always lead with food and fashion. I was the first one pulling up to the party with my red, white, and blue on, looking cute. I didn't do red, white, and blue this year. I did. I did not wish. I don't think I wished anybody a happy fourth. I might have said it, and I used to always put it in like my out of office. I acknowledge it, and I didn't even acknowledge it in my
Hmm.
out of office email because I was like, I'm not in a place right now. Somebody put on social media, they were like, America does not deserve a birthday party this year, and they
It
don't.
does not.
Not this year.
It does
Not the way they're
not when you're trying
acting.
to bring us back. You're trying to bring us
Exactly
back to
that
18
part.
something. No, you don't deserve a birthday party.
You
Oh,
don't deserve it.
yeah,
But I
we
did go
yeah.
somewhere really cool on the 4th of July. What did you do? What did
Yeah.
you do on that day?
I didn't do on the 4th. Did I go to the beach? No, that was the next day I went to the beach. So I didn't do anything on the 4th. Oh, you know what I did do
What'd you
before
do?
you go, because this is really quick. Watch Supercell on
Watching it,
Netflix.
actively watching.
Do you like it?
So Rel was watching it, and I'm watching it with him. I do like it.
Okay. You said you don't?
I do. I do like it.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. And to see us in, written by a black man, that it's filmed, and all the actors are from, London, or not London, but from England. Absolutely phenomenal. So that's how I spent my fourth, just I'm gonna watch one episode, and the next thing I know, I'm 6 episodes in and it's over. I can't wait for season two. But what'd you do?
So I went to a Revolut investors pool party. So imagine you invest in something, or
I did. I did invest in something.
so it was an investors pool party.
Robbie, Robbie,
Oh, we have to get
Robbie.
her on the pod to explain herself. She got to explain herself. So
She gonna have to explain herself.
so anyone who invested in the Revolut social media music app, not anybody, but a group of people were invited to a pool party to celebrate our investors. And so we were hanging out at the pool with them, getting to know, who our investors are. So this is a black and brown owned and founded social media app, which is really picking up a lot of steam. And there's now an offshoot tech side of things. There's an integration that's coming up for Microsoft Outlook. There's also a talent search that's going on. So if you have an iOS phone or an iOS iPad, download the Revolut app and go check it out for yourself. So you can either, go on and just hang out socially for free the same way you do on other social media platforms. The other part of that is that you can invest, for into shares of Revolut. And if you are a musician or someone with a talent that wants to enter the talent competition and possibly win 25K, I mean, come on through. So all the information is
Mm.
available on the Revolut app on iOS. So go check it out. But yeah,
All right, that
we
sounds
need
good.
some answers. How come you wasn't at the pool party, sis?
Yeah, I wasn't at the pool party. But one quick thing, another thing I did last week is I did that Gansett run, that
Mm,
5 mile run that they do every Wednesday. I did not run. I did the 5 mile walk.
that's a lot of
But
walking.
it is. And I actually went with a coworker, and it was a couple of hills or whatever, but the trail was extremely nice. It's over there in East Providence, across the bridge. And we talk about this all the time, just the beauty of nature in Rhode Island. And sometimes it's just like little pockets right off the cityscape. And then you just end up in this natural, you know, semi wooded nice scape or whatever. And of course, the water view. It was such, I'm going to do it again this Wednesday as well, but it was really a nice experience. There was a lot of people out there. A lot of people are doing the run. I'm totally jealous. I'm getting up to that point where maybe by the end of the summer I'll be able to run the whole 5 miles. But it was a nice event. I hope you should come
I
do
should
one of the
come
walks with me on a
little by
Wednesday. I
little
mean, you
by
can't
little.
this week, but maybe next week.
Yes. All right. I gotta get it. I gotta get my mind right and get, because you're making it sound really intriguing, like all the different landscape that you're talking about. Because usually when I go on
Really?
my walk, I walk a track, so it's the same visuals,
Yeah.
going, and I usually do
Mm-hmm.
3 miles. That's the longest I've ever walked, is 3 miles consciously. I
Mm-hmm.
probably in my 20s probably had to walk home somewhere and probably walked more than 3 miles. But as a grown up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, specifically setting a goal to walk 3 miles is the longest I've ever gone.
Yeah,
So
3 miles. I mean, for me, I usually do 3 miles here at home. So 5 miles, I wasn't sure I'd be able to do it, but it wasn't as bad. I think when you have the company and then everybody else, you kind of like really push yourself or whatever. And I did. And but you could do 1 mile, you can do one or three or five. You could do
ooh.
two. You could really break it up yourself, but you'll miss some of the
Mm.
views. So it was
So
it was interesting to do the five.
I tried to do the walk for hunger once, and I
Uh-huh.
made it to the halfway mark and I had to get on the bus back. I couldn't, and I think that's 10 miles. So I think the last time I tried to
Oh
walk
yeah.
10 miles and I
10
ended up
miles is a
walking,
lot.
I walked 5 and I thought I was going to die. So I'm just putting that out there.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't
like I
know.
said, it's one, three, or you don't have to do the whole thing.
I
5 miles.
think it's a
10
ramp up.
miles is a lot.
Yeah, I think I gotta train myself, but I gotta get out there and do something. I gotta start walking. I gotta get more steps in than I am getting in right now. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, all right. So we are about to close out. We are at that 1 hour mark, but we have what do we have next, Tracy? How are we
Well,
closing out today's show?
so last week we did an episode where we went to this gorgeous yurt and we did yoga with Rev, and we want to share that experience with some of our followers and listeners. So we put a little giveaway out on our page. We got a pretty good reception from it. And so we said we would announce two winners. So two winners are individually going to receive 2 sessions and a yoga with Rav t-shirt. So you have to be able to come to Rhode Island to do these lessons. They're in person. I don't know if she would do anything virtually and work anything out with you, but we do have two winners to announce. So,
Okay.
and I will post, this was totally random. I spun a wheel with names on them, and you can see the results when I post them on our Facebook and our Instagram page. You'll be able to see who the winners were. But I would like to announce those winners here because I want to honor these people, these supporters of ours that go hard for Little State Big Voices podcast every day. So two people, we love you all, but two people in particular are going home with prizes. So without further ado, the first winner is at underscore I'm sorry, at Miss underscore Wise. She won on the Facebook side of things, and then on the Instagram side of things, Little Living PVD won the second prize. So Miss underscore Wise and Little Living PVD, you are our winners.
Well, congratulations to them. It's an experience, and you're going to love it. And Rav is, well, you all saw she has that like zen, that peacefulness, that that inner calm. That in this time, what's going on with this world, we definitely gonna have to take advantage of. So congratulations to them.
It's like transporting to another world. Just for 45 minutes, you'll be in
Mm-hmm.
another on another plane in another mental state. None of the bad things will exist. Just the energy flow and the positivity. You might shed a tear. I can't promise that you won't. Or you might start laughing, or you might, just feel a sense of inner peace. You will be transformed by the experience. So we congratulate you. We're so happy that you can have this experience, and feel free to use your extra yoga session to bring a friend with you if that makes you feel better. But we will be hitting you in your DMs to give you instructions on how to cash in on your prizes.
That is great. All right. So that's how you end a show, with a nice little giveaway.
Yes, yes. And hopefully we'll
So
have more
great.
of those coming up in the future, more
Mm-hmm.
giveaways. And until then, you know where to find us. We're on Instagram at Little State Big Voices, on Facebook at Little State Big Voices, on TikTok while it lasts at Little State Big Voices, and also on YouTube. We want to see your comments. We want to hear your feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Try to keep it, kind, because we try to be kind to y'all. So,
Constructive.
but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if
Because we
but we
sensitive
do,
about our shit.
we are sensitive, and you don't have to listen to this. That's the other piece. You really don't. You have options.
But we glad you're here. We glad
Yes.
you're here. So until next time, peace out, everybody.
Until then, keep doing your black.